Welcome to Gun Talk Nation. This episode of Gun Talk Nation is brought to you by Timney Triggers. Timney Triggers, when you want to make yourself a better shooter, it's a magic thing you do. You swap out the trigger and you put in a really good trigger, and all of a sudden you become a better shooter. Timney
Essentially, that's what goes down. That's what should happen.
It's the secret. Yeah, it's the secret. They got budget-minded triggers. They've got super-duper competition triggers, tons of different triggers for ARs and that kind of thing. But, today we've got KJ with us and Cy Brown. Welcome in, man.
Thanks for having me.
If you do not know Cy Brown, you are missing out on one of the many few joys we have right now in the world.
We thought we'd bring Cy in to just cheer everybody up. So Cy is a guy I've known since I was probably like 15 years old, I think.
Man, that's scary.
Isn't that crazy? 15, 16, yeah. Somewhere in that ballpark. So we were getting into trouble back then and playing music together and all kinds of other stuff. And, over the years we've kept in touch. Cy is a gun guy and a hunter guy. And we thought, who has good stories? Let's get Cy on.
Yeah.
So Cy, what can you tell people about yourself? Anything that's not classified?
All this.
It's all about the hogs.
So I hunt hogs for a living, but it doesn't pay very good, so I have to be an electrical engineer in my spare time.
He's a hobbyist electrical engineer, a professional hog hunter.
Yeah, so I'm actually at work right now, kind of slacking off doing this. Hopefully my boss doesn't bust through the door and ask me what the hell I'm doing.
Yeah.
That would almost be just perfect. We hope that happens.
We'll just keep going.
We'll just have him on, ask him cartridge questions.
Yeah, so I don't know what there else is to say about me, but I have this strange habit of somehow or another doing dumb things and ending up on TV or Time magazine, those kind of things.
Cy has a habit of going viral by accident.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
It's happened a couple of times.
So,
there's so many follow-up questions that you could ask for that.
Yeah.
So as an example, yes.
Like,
as an example.
Does KJ know about the exploding beaver?
Go ahead. Let's go. Let's just jump into
right,
the exploding beaver.
Oh, geez.
Can we say this? Yeah.
This is allowed.
So I was a bad kid when I was younger.
That's why we're.
And I had a lot of yes, this is how you start all good stories. Yeah. And I had a lot of older brothers who were also bad. And at one point in my life, an older brother of mine caught me building an explosive device. I'm sure the statute of limitations has passed for this, so I'm not too worried about it. But he caught me building some kind of an explosive device in the shop and said, no, little brother, don't do this. This is dangerous. You don't use a fuse. You take a little piece of steel wool and He showed me the right way to set off explosive.
Don't not build it. If you're going to do it right.
He showed me the right way. So we kind of had a little fetish for blowing things up. And at some point there was this beaver. And this story could go on forever, but I'll give you the short version. There was a beaver whose name was Saddam Hussein, because this was sometime around the Gulf War, that my dad wanted dead because he was blocking up all of his rice field drainage system.
Dad's a farmer.
Right, Dad's a farmer. And so he sent us out there. We killed him. And the next day we propped him up like on a stick and blindfolded him and put a cigarette in his mouth like we had a firing squad. And we blew him up, exploded him. And this is before YouTube.
But he was already dead. It's okay.
Yeah, he was already dead, so it's okay. This is before the internet was what it is today. You just upload it to YouTube and the FBI is knocking on your door the next day. This is long before that. Well, I uploaded this video and shared it via email to a few friends.
To MySpace.
It was even before MySpace. Well, about a week later, I actually worked at this ISP. This is in dial-up days, right? So I'm working at the ISP where this video is hosted. And a week or two later, they're like, man, we don't understand what's going on. But like our whole T1, that was a big thing back then. half of our, or our fractional T1 or whatever the hell it was is just being slurped away. We don't have any bandwidth left. And it turns out that the beaver video had just been spread around so far and so many people were coming to download it that I was nuking the whole ISP.
No.
And everybody in Campty and Natchitoches, Louisiana couldn't get their yahoo.com or whatever.
Shut down the internet.
I shut down the internet all around the Natchitoches.
Their AOL CDs weren't
area.
working. CD-ROMs.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
And for like 5 or 6 years after that, I couldn't go to any kind of like wedding or anything without people like, hey, you're that beaver guy.
He's the beaver guy.
Yeah,
of course.
The beaver guy.
I think the most important question is, do you still have the video?
Probably.
All right. It's good. So you'll have to share that with me one of these days when we're out smoking some hogs.
So for people who, because obviously people are listening to this all over the country, and there aren't wild feral hogs all over the country. So, I mean, people hear about it. Down south, we've got a ton of hogs. Explain the hog situation, and I'd kind of like to jump into like the gear, the ballistics, the bullets, your preferences, because I know you've shot thousands. Is that fair to say?
Oh, that's an understatement.
I guess, yeah. I haven't kept count. But yeah, a lot of them.
A lot.
Yeah, and if I hadn't shot them, I was helping other people shoot them. So
well, and I think once you do that, you kind of start figuring out what works, what doesn't work, gear wise, bullet wise, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, I've got a fetish for actually digging bullets out, and I like to do autopsies.
Well,
yes,
it sounds weird, but it actually, if you're into ballistics and cartridges and all that stuff, bullet performance, you really see what works, what doesn't work, what it's actually doing. Because
and you understand the anatomy of your game. I mean, I think that's one of the more important things, especially on something like hogs. I mean, they've got that ginormous plate right behind their shoulder, so you need to understand what your ballistics and your bullets are doing.
So, sides, I mean, talk about hogs in the South. I mean, what are we looking at here? And for people who don't understand hogs in the South.
Yeah, so, if you're from the North and you don't have this problem and it's kind of like not a thing for you, think about like your deer problem where people talk about, oh, we lost this many vehicles to running over deer and they're overpopulated and all this kind of stuff. Well, imagine it's kind of like that, except they're angry, they make a mess, they're dangerous, they breed even more, and they destroy crops 10 times worse than deer do.
Yeah.
And it's not a native animal. I mean, it's a feral species that's been introduced, and they really do cost a considerable amount of money to farmers. And, this ecological damage that they're doing, I mean, they're just bad dudes all around, and they make lots of babies.
They're affecting other animals. I mean, you hear about quail populations and other stuff like that. So you've shot hogs, different guns, different cartridges. You probably have some opinions. What seems to work, and how tough are hogs to bring down?
So number one, the people talk about the whole shoulder plate and, pigs or all that stuff. And it's not so much how they're built. It's just the damn things have a bad attitude and they don't want to die.
They're tough.
Yes. Look, I'm pretty sure if I shot you, Ryan, you would lay down and cry and call an ambulance. A pig doesn't. They just run until the oxygen is out, and then they fall over and their legs will keep twitching like they're trying to go. They don't want to quit. And unless you break the central nervous system, it takes a while for them to drop. And I've shot them 22 rifles, shotguns, 300 blackout, 380, 243, yada, 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 lots of different stuff. Currently, I've stabbed them to death. I've stabbed them and drowned them at the same time.
Whatever works.
He's got a deep hatred for these hogs, and rightfully so, because they say they roughly $2 billion in damage each year across, 35 states are kind of infected with them right now. So he's doing us a favor.
Doing God's work.
Yeah.
So what works, what doesn't, when you think about cartridges and bullets?
So this is what I tell people. Shoot them with the biggest thing you can shoot them with that you can comfortably use and that makes sense for the kind of shooting that you're doing. If you're sitting on a stand and you only want to kill one pig and you're not really out there to exterminate them, man, use a high-powered rifle, a bolt action with a big long range. Yeah, I mean, shoot, use 50 cal. Just, hit them with something really big. If you're doing like I do, where you're really trying to get high body count, you got to step it down. Because look, I carried a 308 for about a year and a half because I was struggling with a 223. It just wasn't really knocking them down as well as I wanted.
Yeah.
And the type of hunting that I was doing was not conducive to, lugging around a full-size AR-10 and then belting out 20 or 30 rounds of 308 without a suppressor. That's before I had one. Man, that's rough.
Yeah.
It's kind of a kick in the pants, but after a while, it's not as much fun as it was the first couple of times that it happened. So if you're doing some stand hunting and you're out there to kill that one trophy pig or that one meat pig or whatever, man, just use your deer rifle. You'll be fine. Sure. If you want high body count, an AR-15 style rifle in 223 will work good enough.
223 will work?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, your margins.
What rounds are you looking at covering with that? What do you like to shoot out of your 223 or 5.56?
So that's kind of almost the same answer. I shoot trash ammo because I shoot a lot. I can't afford to go buy Barnes and shoot that all the time.
Although it works really good.
Although it works. Look, if I had a choice of all things considered, I'd be shooting some, was it TAC-X or TAC-TX?
Yeah,
Barnes,
TSX, yeah.
TSX out of a 300 blackout.
Yeah.
The
120 grain load is awesome.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. But the truth is, man, I'll spit full metal jacket out of a 223 all day long and kill them. Actually, out of a 223, a full metal jacket is not a bad idea for pigs because it's a bone breaker.
Yeah.
Right. You anything that's exploding out of a 223, you start running the risk of going in there and popping in the meat and there's not much else happening. And yeah, the pig will die, but he's going to die half a mile away. A full metal jacket, heavy grain out of a 223, if you're shooting a lot of them and you can't afford to buy some expensive fancy stuff, not a bad deal. That's what I do with 223. Yeah. Full metal jacket.
Where do you land on the 300 blackout?
I love mine for a couple of reasons. One, because it's easy to go back and forth between sub and supers. And every so often I've got to sneak a pig that's, a couple of 100 yards away from other pigs, and you can get away with that if you suppress. And so you can't, snipe them 20 yards apart and not hear them, have them here. That doesn't work that way.
Right.
But it can save you if you got them a little bit of distance in between two groups.
Now, how close do you want to be? If you're shooting subsonic on a pig, how close? Because there's a big difference in subsonic and supersonic with 300.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's kind of like if you're shooting with a 45 pistol if you're using subbies, which I've killed pigs with a 45 pistol as well.
Yeah.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. Man, my philosophy is get close and stick it in their ear.
As close as they'll let you.
As close as they'll let you.
Yeah.
Especially with subs.
Walk in on them.
Yeah.
Yeah. 50 yards and in.
Well, shoot, man, I'm 50 yards and in with supers. I really like to get close.
Well, I mean, just as far as if somebody, because I've heard people go, I'm going to get a 300 blackout and I can get subsonic ammo and I can put suppressor on it. It's going to be quiet and I'm going to shoot pigs.
I'll just shoot every one of them and they'll never run.
And I'm like, no, it really is. The energy is really more like you're shooting with a pistol with a subsonic load. You got to be close.
And the sound of that round hitting a pig is loud enough to scare every pig around.
Right.
It's, you couldn't do that with a bow and arrow because the sound of that arrow sticking in a pig will make all the other ones run. So it's not right. It's not super quiet like the movies make it.
Yeah.
Now there was one instance where I was sitting there it was last year we were hunting with you, and I was wishing I did not have night vision and I had a flashlight and a shotgun. And it was when we were stalking through this rice fields and they weren't moving. the pigs weren't moving until you were like 2 feet away from them, and then all of a sudden they'd scatter and you couldn't see them.
So
that in those instances, when you move to a shotgun in really, really close, tight situations, what are you moving to?
So there's 2 reasons I'll use a shotgun. One where it's a safety issue, because a lot of times I'm hunting fields where there's a lot of houses that are within a mile or so, and I just don't want to have to keep track of where I can and cannot sling lead.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're using buckshot, it becomes a non-issue to a large degree.
Right. If the houses are still, a half mile away, you figure,
That's
okay,
right.
I'm safe. I'm shooting down to the ground. Yeah.
That's right. So buckshot's really good when there's a safety issue and you got to get that range of ricochets way down. And also, man, when you hunting in dense vegetation and, rice fields, like you said, sugar cane, it just sometimes it's just easier to work a shotgun with a flashlight.
Yeah, it was surprising how thick it was, and I don't even think I'd be shooting at pigs. I'd be shooting at movement at that point, and that kind of worries me a little bit. But we were all safe, but man, you hear them.
You got to be careful. Make sure there's no other people around. Make sure that the worst mistake that you make is, oops, I killed a possum instead of a pig.
Right.
Or the real risk that you have is there's a deer sleeping right there. But they'll almost always stand up and pop their head out of the rice. But you got to be careful.
Yeah, I think I need to say this. What we're mostly talking about is hunting at night. This is for the most part, this isn't daytime hunting. Yeah. So this is night hunting. No. Which you can do legally in Louisiana and several other southern states. So along those lines, what about thermal, night vision, some of that gear that our audience gets into? And man, I think night hunting is one of the coolest things to me.
Absolutely.
For so many reasons. You can do it with thermal, you can do it with night vision, either way, just kind of different, I guess, pros and cons for each one, really.
Yeah. But just as a reminder, you could also do it with a flashlight and a pointy stick. I know people.
I know people.
I know people who've done that.
And no shoes.
No shoes. You don't even have to bring shoes.
So okay, we're just jumping around here, but hunting with no shoes, Si, what's up with that? Why?
It's quiet. It's quiet, and maybe Kevin can remember this, but it's really hard to walk through rice when you're wearing boots. If you don't wear shoes, you can actually grab onto those rice stalks with your toes to keep you balanced.
But here's the deal. There's snakes out and there's stuff like that out, and you don't mind. Like
this is Louisiana in the summer.
He goes everywhere. I swear, barefoot. And that's my first memory of you, Si, is when I met you, you were barefoot. And I was like, what is this?
He was barefoot when I met him when I was 15 years old.
but he's much quieter. He kills more hogs than I do, and so he's on to something there. But have you ever been bit by a snake?
Not a poisonous one.
Not on, because didn't you find a copperhead or something like that a few weeks ago or something?
Shoot, all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
they're out there, and I don't understand how you don't step on them.
I did once, actually. One time in the middle of pig hunting. So normally you get a feel for where they are. They like to hang out by little puddles of water, and they'll just, when they drain these rice fields, all these little tiny minnows get trapped in puddles, and the snakes, that's where they come. Free food, right? So when you walking through a rice field, the hot spots to check. And sometimes if you watch, you'll see us, we'll hit the flashlight real quick and just kind of take a peek. And when we were doing this one night, that we were so close to the pigs that I couldn't stop and check. And I knew I was going to a hot spot, but I was like, we'll risk it. And I'm in socks. I've got nothing but socks on.
Oh, you're fine. You got socks on.
Oh, yeah. It keeps your feet from getting scratched up. But
snake socks.
Look, I'm this cool guy. I've got all these cool manly man guns and night vision, and I'm all, I'm awesome, right? And I stepped on that snake and did a sissy dance. I saw him, like, in the dark, just fraction of a second before my foot went down, and I was like, "Oh no!" But it was too late.
Gravity was taking over,
and basically, I squashed his head in the mud.
Then
so I kind of,
it's like a landmine. You can't lift your foot up now.
oh no, I lifted my foot up real fast.
I bet he levitated.
I did this stupid little dance, and then I kind of got control of myself, and I whacked his head off with a knife and went and shot pigs.
God, I just
together. It's just a little snake.
Yeah, because when I go out with him, I'm in like a full snake suit, like
right, snake boots, chaps.
Snake boots, everything.
So wait a minute. Let's get back to thermal and night vision.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I
enjoy the snake talk. Welcome to Snake Talk.
Yeah.
Thermal and night vision. Thermal, to me, I mean, night vision, I think people understand what night vision is like. You see it in the movies, and it's fairly accurate in the movies. It's the green light, and you can see in the dark, and it's pretty neat. It is really neat, actually. But thermal is like magic to me. It's just
it's God mode.
It's God mode.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. You have a superpower now.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about, seeing animals, identifying stuff, what you can do with thermal versus everything else.
So I usually tell people that, and they're like, okay, what do I buy? I don't have a lot of money. I can only get one thing. And I tell them, buy a thermal weapon scope, especially one on a quick release optic. And everything else you can get by if you have that thermal, because you can use it to spot really far away. You can use it to shoot with. You can use it to find dead things on the ground. Yes, it's really awesome to be able to drive with night vision and then spot with a thermal handheld and then shoot with a weapon mount. But it costs a lot of money to do that. Yeah, it's a lot of money. But if you're going to buy that one device, get a weapon mountable thermal, and it's a whole new ballgame. In fact, I'll tell you, Ryan, the dynamics of pig hunting today are so different than they were, 10 years ago, because thermals are so cheap. Everybody's got them. Everybody's out there. Mm-hmm. I think the pigs are actually kind of taking a pretty good lick, and I don't kill nearly as much as what I used to. You can tell they're all skittish and scared. I mean, we've been putting the fear of God in those things.
Yeah.
And
I know down here is a bunch of doing it. Yeah, that's true. You can use thermal in the daytime too.
Yeah, and you can. That's right. You can use it during the.
And it's still kind of magic at that point. I mean, you could have stuff hiding in the trees and you wouldn't be able to see it with the naked eye, but you can spot it with thermal.
Yeah, it's a cool toy to have all around.
Yeah,
yeah, for sure.
I just going out with him at night and being able to look through a field with like a monocular or something like that, thermal. And just to be able to pick them up from so far away, and you can come up with a plan. You already know which way the wind's blowing. And he knows the terrain out there and out in his neck of the woods so well that he can get within 20 yards of them or less.
Yeah,
it's just impressive.
Yeah, yeah. So look, way back in the day when I first started doing this seriously, literally I had my old duck shotgun with buckshot and a mag light that wasn't even an LED bulb. I mean,
the yellow
and listen,
light.
Thank God I was younger back then. I could put up with this kind of crap. I'd just go out there, I'd park my truck, and I'd start patrolling fields. And literally, I wasn't even using a headlamp to find them. I was listening for them. So, which is one of the big reasons why I don't wear shoes, because it's not so much that the pigs hear you, it's that you hear your own noise and you don't hear the pigs.
Right.
So, I mean, really, I used to have to hunt them by ear. And it sucked. It sucked. And thank God I was like the only guy doing it back then. Nobody bothered with that kind of crap.
Well, it was a while back that you I think the coolest piece of equipment that you have is a thermal drone.
Yeah. So that's what kind of precipitated doing the whole drone thing. It's like, man, I got to patrol these fields and I got to walk for so long, and there might be pigs 10 yards past my hearing range doing $1,000 of damage, and you get mad because you see it the next day and you were still out there. And at that point, thermal weapon scopes were just, $20,000 for like the crappiest thing.
Yeah.
So we couldn't afford one, but we could get that little tiny drone camera after we begged, barred, and pleaded for money from a bunch of people like, hey, y'all want to pitch in? We'll do this. And we did it. And look, that was still one of the coolest things I've
Game
ever
changer.
done. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, some of Si's videos on YouTube are kind of the coolest things. And I don't know, are those videos public? But can people just run across them?
I think so. Yeah. I don't put too much on YouTube these days, but all my old videos are still out there.
Because
there's also some claymation that my kids did,
Yeah.
good stuff like that.
Yeah. You've got these videos where you've got the drone filming the whole thing, but you've got audio.
Yeah.
A lot of times of what's happening on the ground, and you can see the guys moving in. You can see all of a sudden hogs just running all over the place. Yeah. It's wild.
Yeah, and it breaks my heart to think about, because it was a pain to get all of this. Of course, you guys know y'all do this for a living, but there's always some piece of equipment that runs out of batteries or goes wrong.
Oh my gosh! Filming hunts.
Yeah, there have been a couple of cool things that happened that just didn't get recorded. That it breaks my heart to think about it. Because if you don't have video of it, it almost doesn't count.
Yeah.
But
this one time,
just literally screaming in the radio, like, look out behind you, and seeing the guy whip around and blast a pig, and just crazy stuff that happened.
We had one of those last year on Guns and Gear. Cameraman Jason, he was sitting there walking us through the field, and we had just shot some, and we were like, I can't find it, and he goes, he is right at your feet. At your feet, because he's looking.
Because size on the drone, right?
On the drone, looking at this, and we've got him in our ears, and I'm like, Jace, our cameraman. I was like, he says he's right here. Where is he? And then we're looking all around, and the pig's right in the middle of us. Right,
looking at y'all like.
Yeah, looking at us like, oh, here's my chance. Here's my chance. These couple of idiots.
Yeah.
How mean are hogs? How often have you gotten charged by them?
Ryan,
they run all over the place confused, right?
I don't want to exaggerate it and make it sound. I've been in some fights, but that's because I had stabbed him first. I really kind of picked a fight. I picked those fights.
Yeah.
I got one small, about an inch long scar on my knee because I was stupid. But before they were hurt, I've never had one come at me other than the little tiny babies.
Yeah, they do. They will.
The little babies, they're so cute and angry,
Yeah, they're confused.
Yeah. But I've had them run at me, especially when you shoot suppressed. A lot of times that bullet crack will make them think the shooter's on the opposite side than he really is. And they'll just start piling towards you. But they're not really coming for you. You just happen to be in their way.
Yeah. They're just
I've sidestepped quite a few pigs in my life.
Yeah.
I remember one time my shotgun either ran out of ammo or jammed. I can't remember which. And this pig was coming out of the rice. And this is back when I was kind of headlamp days. In fact, I may have been shooting just by moonlight. And I knew my gun was jammed. And that thing when your remote for the TV doesn't work, you kind of
mash it.
I was doing that with the shotgun, like, shoot,
go,
please make lead come out. And man, he ran right by me and splashed me with mud as he went by. Yeah. Well, I was acting like a retard trying to poke him with the barrel of the gun.
So people want to talk about hunting with suppressors, hunting with silencers, or people who don't know say silencers are not for that. Hunters don't use silencers. Mm-hmm. Well, more and more we're seeing hunters use it all the time. Obviously protect your hearing because like you're just talking about, you're trying to listen for hogs. You probably can't do that too well with earplugs in.
No, you can't. No, you can't. And in fact, that's actually one of the reasons why I really like that 300 blackout, because even when it's unsuppressed, look, it's not safe to shoot without ear protection. Right. But of all the rifles that you have going off nearby, it is one of the quieter ones, even unsuppressed. Look, that suppressor is another game changer. It makes everything so much better. Ear protection is a problem for pig hunting because using it is dangerous. And things like Ear Pro are better than nothing, where they have the electronic hearing.
Yeah.
But it just even magnified, it's not as good as your regular ears and your detection and being able to discern whether that was a frog or a pig grunting 100 yards away.
Right.
I can't stand not having my own ears open.
Yeah. 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 You know, it's interesting. I think it is a game changer, all this gear. And I think, like you said, you can go out with a flashlight and a shotgun and do some pig hunting at night, where legal, obviously. But so much of this starts to become real techie and gear heavy.
Yeah.
Which is fun for a lot of us. I mean, that's actually part of the fun of it. Like, okay, gives me a reason to go find a thermal scope or find night vision or whatever. But the prices are coming down. I mean, we were doing some stuff with ATN. I mean, they have this, was it the Thor LT? It's like
$1,200. The LT's like,
for thermal, which, I mean, $1,200 is not inexpensive. That's a chunk of money, but for thermal, that's incredible.
What would you spend on your other deer rifles or your home defense guns? I mean, you're going to spend, you know, the rule that I like to use is spend as almost double what your gun's going to be on your optics.
Yeah, look, $1,000 optic in general, for people who are serious about it, that's not that big of a deal.
That's right.
If you're into it, there are no cheap hobbies.
Yeah.
If you're into it, you're into it. I don't care what it is.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
So, you know, thinking about the shooting and the hunting and stuff and kind of what works with you, Si, anything as far as gear that you've tried some stuff out and you're like, that didn't work?
Electronic hearing for me, I never could. Never. I mean, look, for shooting and stuff like that and being able to hear the range commands and things like that, sure, great. But using it to enhance your hearing, just, for me anyway, just didn't work. Yeah. I'll tell you one piece of gear that I actually built that was a disaster. At some point we had crashed our drone. This is the early drone. We're not talking multi-copters. This is back when I had the fixed wing. Right? Yeah. I had crashed it or something was wrong with it. So I was like, well, I've got these video goggles and I've got this camera. I'm just going to walk around and hold the camera up here and have these goggles on and I'll be able to see. And when there's a pig, KJ knows where this is going. When there's a pig, I'll just rip the goggles off and put the camera down and shoot. Well, yeah, that like to got me killed. First of all, holding your eyeballs in your hands is really disorienting. Like really disorienting. Like we weren't meant to do it that way. Our eyeballs in our head is how we kind of grew up, you know? So when you move them into your hand, and what's really disorienting is when you're doing that and there's like 10 or 15 really big pigs all around you. And you're like,
you turn your head to look, but that doesn't help. You got to turn the camera.
No, or better yet, like you're looking at a pig and you got to take the glasses off and like, well, wait, where was that pig? Because this is again a rice stubble that's waist high. Yeah, but I didn't die, and a couple of pigs did, so it wasn't that bad.
It's a win. It's a win.
Almost puked once or twice.
Jeez. Well, man, thanks for being on Gun Talk Nation with us.
Sure, no problem.
It was fun. Always fun. We'll have Si back again to talk more hunting stories and get into the weeds, so to speak. But that's it for us on Gun Talk Nation. Thanks for listening.